Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kaylee Fretz. I'm standing in the middle of the Roubaix velodrome. Johnny Long, wow, I kind of just set the scene. Set some additional scene for me.
As the riders come in and turn right, we are directly to the left, caged into a little barrier section where you can see a bit, but not much.
The members have a better view than us.
Yeah, the members on the trip, they're over there somewhere. I think you can just about see them.
Yep.
Tons of people, tons of anticipation and sort of still excitement despite the fact that Mathieu van der Poel is almost 3 minutes ahead of anyone else with 8 kilometers to go.
Yeah, 7.5K to go, something like that. Also joining us today, Ian Trillor.
Hello. Always good to be here.
Do you have any additional scene setting you'd like to do?
On my Norwegian beat, I've noticed that TV2 is quite excited because there might be a guy that could get into the top 10, so that's big news for them.
There's a good moustache behind you. He's just turned away.
There are
huge moustache.
Lots of moustaches this year. I've clearly laid some groundwork.
Did we get an answer to our question this morning as to why the entirety of the UAE Emirates team is sporting mustaches?
Apparently, it's because their Spring Classics revelation Morgado was born with one, so they're all trying to keep up.
This is a man who in Wollongong was 17 years old, I think, and had more facial hair than I have now at 20 years more than that.
I think the fact that we've gone in this direction really tells you a lot about today's bicycle race. We do have a fair amount to talk about.
Yeah.
I think we're going to sort of chat here while Van der Poel rides over the last couple sectors. He just came off the Carrefour de l'Arbre. He's on...
Oh,
he
loves cutting those little safety yellow triangles so close.
Loves narrowly avoiding safety bollards. Yes. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to come back, well, basically right as Van der Poel's coming into the velodrome, bring you some atmosphere, and then we're going to talk about the bike race.
Don't jinx him, Kaylee.
I mean, I think he's unjinxable at this point. He can run.
Unless Jasper Philipsen chases him down.
I think he could run here. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. 1.5K to go. We just watched Mathieu van der Poel tap the side of his canyon as if it were a horse.
Attaboy.
Attaboy.
Well.
Why? Why, Ronan?
I don't know. He's doing this celebration. We're waiting to see now if he lifts the bike above his head like he has done the last couple of races he's done. And the only explanation I can think of is that he has a contractual bonus if he gets off the bike and shows off the canyon in some way. So
here he comes.
Kilomètres, des millions de pavés, et on va le retrouver dans quelques secondes, mesdames et messieurs, le vainqueur de l'épreuve 2024, l'entrée sur le velodrome André Pétilleux, et la présence du champion du monde,
He's rounding the velodrome.
Spittle and piss raining down on the velodrome.
No, we're in France. He's safe.
Il l'exprime au public. La victoire va lui appartenir dans quelques secondes. Les 300 derniers.
Corner 3. He can really soak this one in.
Yeah, he takes it very seriously. There's no early celebration even though he's got 3 minutes. There's no G'ing up of the crowd.
He's going for time.
He's going for time.
I mean, I think it is going to be the fastest ever once again. So, not too surprising as it was a massive tailwind all day, but still wildly impressive.
Yes, so it seems the top of the headship was sufficient to achieve the bonus. Secure the bonus, yes.
Secure the
no stepping off this time, no slide-on shot of the bike. The headship top was enough.
Here he comes. All right, we're going to take another quick break and go see who we can talk to. Miss France is walking behind us. She just took approximately 1,000 selfies. She was actually holding up this line quite horribly, is what was happening. People trying to get out of the velodrome. Oh. Here comes some riders.
2 more riders. Maybe the last ones.
Maybe they're the last ones.
The gate has not been closed.
It's been about a half hour since Mathieu van der Poel crossed that finish line by himself. A commanding victory as one might say.
Yeah.
And we got two world champion victors this weekend, which is fun.
Neat, not thrilling.
It's a neat stat.
It was still an exciting race. It's still interesting that's happened. But neatness over everything else.
Do we have any other neat stats to provide people?
First Quickstep finisher, was 35th, Yves Lampard.
That's rough.
Patrick Lefevre's doing something at home. He's ill. He couldn't turn up today, so he's not here. Do we think that was an excuse because he knew what was going to happen?
He knew it was doomed.
Maybe.
Yeah. Not a whole lot to break down tactically.
Well, and we can leave that for how the race was won later.
We can.
See how they do that. Throw them that particular hospital pass.
Anything else from the sort of scene-setting perspective? Any things that we noticed today that we wanted to maybe chat through?
The Arenberg chicane?
Yeah, let's talk about the Arenberg chicane. So what impact... Actually, before we do that, let's pull in friend of the podcast, Joshua.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
For one day
Joshua
only.
Robinson of the Wall Street Journal. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you. You were in our van all day. It was lovely.
Also, with our members trip, there were people who came over and heard his voice and were like, oh, I know who you are.
Well, I mean, I can simply say that means I've misspent my time.
So let's talk about the chicane. This was the big news story in sort of the last 72 hours, right? Popped up end of this week. It had the potential to do some real damage. I don't think there was a crash there. No crashes there.
Not as far as we saw it. At least not in the front group where it would have made the difference.
And what we said was that it was going to impact the race, sort of regardless of whether it caused incidents. One, by making the Arenberg harder, which it appeared to do. I mean, we were at the exit of the Arenberg. What did we see? This is a couple hours ago, in a different time, in a different place, mentally, physically, spiritually. Johnny, we just made our way from the starting company, and where are we now?
We're at the exit of the Arenberg Forest, post-chicane, in a sort of little...
Well past chicane.
Well past, all the way through
Yep.
the fearsome cobbled sector. This is a great place to come to because there's not only is there sort of hot dog, beer stands, but as they come out and turn left out the corner, that's where all the mechanics stand, ready to sort of replace tyres, bikes,
That's why Ronan wanted to be here, because we were here last year, was it? And we watched lots of broken things get broken. And actually, Ronan even fixed a bike.
Yeah, fixed a bike, sent a guy on his way.
Were you faster than the actual mechanic that was supposed to be fixing the bikes?
The mechanic had taken so long, I felt it was so awkward at that point I had to step
You were
in.
duty bound.
So I couldn't have been any slower. But
Not always pro mechanics at these things.
to be fair, it probably wasn't a mechanic. It was like a team helper. Could even just have been a relation or something.
Or like someone's dad.
You got to think they would put their best guys on the end of Arenberg.
You would think. Would you not?
To set the scene a little bit more, basically at the corner there's a VIP, like sort of 10
Yeah, we can't get in there.
box
We
thing
have the
set
wrong
up by
lanyards.
race organisers. But we're behind that. There's a series of benches, tents, and just regular punters really who've come along to drink many beers, have hot dogs. It's a good, the nice thing about Paris-Roubaix is you can sector hop a bit if you're smart, and it depends. Obviously, it's harder to do as the race gets faster and faster. But if you're going to head anywhere, this is a really good one to do. It's why we come back every year, really.
Yeah, we reverse our way into the exit of the Arenberg.
The whole way.
The whole way.
What Ronan did. Thank you, Ronan.
And yeah, we're hanging out here for like maybe an hour or so until the race shows up. We're going to maybe chat with some locals, find out what kind of healthy drinks they've been imbibing.
Well, we're queuing up for a small beer now, a small work beer, sort of very European work style to have a beer at lunchtime.
Might have a siesta
but yeah,
after.
there are some people nearby who look to have had a lot more than one beer.
They're well oiled.
Well oiled, okay. So they won't need any mechanical assistance from you.
Heavily
Definitely
lubricated.
not. They're not waxing here. They're well oiled.
Let's see who we find.
Kortrijk, de ploeg van de Côté. Kortrijk,
Kortrijk.
Kortrijk.
Tell me about what you're doing here today. What are you drinking? What are you...
So today we're here from a village called Hulle. Hulle is a pretty nice village, just in Kortrijk. Super nice. We're every year we are here, but yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame the favorites are out. But
how many beers have you had today so far?
How many beers? I think maybe 11, 12.
And how many more do you think you'll have before the end of the day?
I think I will be at 30 at the end of the day, but
Okay, I'm glad we spoke to
30.
you now then.
Can anyone do better than 30?
He's not even lying, 30. I'm going for 25, but he's really going for 30.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Tell me your Yves Lampaert farming fact.
So Yves Lampaert, his uncle is a farmer from the region West Flanders. And when he wins, he gets a cow from his uncle. So at the moment, Yves Lampaert, he is really good at Paris-Roubaix. And when he wins, he gets a cow from his uncle. 2 years ago, he was really close to winning, but a supporter was in the way and he crashed 2 years ago. But we believe that this year is the year of Yves Lampaert. Yves Lampaert will win. He will choose the best cow of his uncle and will win.
Does he get a cow every time he wins any race, or is it just this race?
It is just this race. We have a series in Flanders where we follow Yves Lampaert on television, and his uncle has said this year and year on again that when he wins, he gets a cow. So just in this race, he gets a cow if he wins.
Do you know if he wants a cow?
We believe that Yves Lampaert. We believe that Yves Lampaert wants a cow. Yeah.
What kind of cow does the uncle? Is it like a dairy cow or like a bull or?
I don't want to set up or get a clash with all the vegetarians, but I think in the end, the cow will be meat.
But it will have a beautiful life on Yves Lampaert's property until then. And in a way, isn't that what all cows would want?
Let's go cows! Let's go Yves Lampaert!
Dane, stuff is about to happen. Where are we? Set the scene for me.
We are at the exit of the True de Arenberg, 5-star sector, the first 5-star sector here at Paris-Roubaix, where we expect a lot of action, because there always is. We're just standing on the curve, where we expect the riders to be in about 5-10 minutes, and we see lots of happy fans and flags and people with they're well lubricated. And it's a nice day, so it's even more reason to be happy. It's a lovely day here on the Arenberg, maybe a little bit better than we've had recently.
Are we as concerned about the chicane as we were 24 hours ago?
No, I'm not.
It's a much smaller group than we thought.
Yeah.
Which is, in hindsight,
as of right now,
be
there's been quite a few punctures and other reasons that people have been dropped or disqualified from the race in the case of Josh Tarling.
Yeah.
So it is going to be a smaller group. It's still a decent-sized group. And then by the end of the Arenberg, who knows how big the group will be. That's why we're standing here.
I mean, last couple of years, we've often had groups of sort of like 100-plus riders coming to the Arenberg together, and it was clear that they didn't want that to happen.
Right.
Specifically, Mathieu van der Poel didn't want that to happen, so he's put his team on the front, and they've really sort of strung things out, kept things split, and we're about to find out what will happen this year. I think we're going to see fewer broken wheels at the end here too. Ronan's over in the pit just to our right.
That's sort of a intended side effect of the chicanery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, part of the reason for the broken wheels was you hit this thing at 65k an hour, and you know the first set of cobbles is a little bit of a lip, and it basically killed dozens of wheels in the first row of rocks every single year on the Arenberg, and I think we're going to see a lot less carnage at the end of this sector than we normally would. That doesn't mean we'll see none. There's still plenty of horrible stuff in there.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be quite as bad.
I would think this is a sort of situation there where you also need a large sample size of Roubaix cobbles to really get what
True.
it is that the chicanes do, because there's so much randomness.
True. Because the conditions are pretty ideal. We were just speaking with renowned cycling photographer Zach Williams, and he was saying that it really couldn't get any better.
Yeah, beautiful day, especially for fans and cyclists. The lack of dust, maybe, the photos aren't going to be as great. We like the muddy and the dusty riders, right?
Yeah, we like some mud and some dust for the photos, but I bet Zach's going to do all right anyway.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
He's looking at us right now.
Yeah, he's got a smile on his face. It must be a good day.
All right, let's take a pause and come back when the riders come through. What do you see, Dane?
I see people racing their bikes. They are approaching the choppers overhead. Actually, 2 choppers overhead.
And first off the cobbles, Mathieu van der Poel first off the Arenberg. Stefan Kung leads a group with about a 10-second gap. Oh, Kung has got that pain face on. Tom Pidcock's still there. Niels Pollitt's still there. And we do have a front flat from a Intermarché Wanty rider.
Absolutely no surprise to see Van der Poel, obviously.
Fred Wright. Johnny Long nowhere to be seen. John Degenkolb's still there.
Mess Peterson was just a little bit behind Van der Poel there, so looking good.
Well, so it looks like the Arenberg Force did indeed do quite a bit of damage.
This group is in bits and pieces.
We should make our way over to Ronan and get a little report from the pits. Ronan, what do you see?
Much less carnage than usual. We're coming out here. We're sitting here at the exit of Arenberg, and usually it's just chaos and broken wheels, punctures, all sorts. And there's so little this year. That's the only noticeable thing about it. And that's probably because they're just entering Arenberg so much slower, thanks to that chicane that we've seen as they entered the forest.
We got a couple broken wheels.
We got one
as
broken wheel here.
always.
I mean, yeah, if you puncture on the Arenberg and then you ride a flat tire, you're probably going to break that.
You're going to break it
in the forest.
Which is what that one's broken in so many places. That's clearly what happened. Yeah. Did you fix any flats yet?
Was not required this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only been this one that we've seen. So I think the other most notable thing was just how fast Van der Poel came out of the.
Woof.
He nearly wiped out the entire fleet of mechanics here.
Yeah, came out with a gap. All right, well, I think with that, it's time for us to get to the velodrome. Well, so we learned some things about Yves Lampaert and his uncle. Unfortunately, Yves Lampaert will not be getting a cow. Did not win Paris-Roubaix.
No.
But he will get 1/36th of one.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah,
So,
I think so.
what's that? A nice prime cut of steak or something like that? Rump?
Rump.
I mean, it feels like that's a guy who still has access to cows if he wants them.
But then there's no such thing as a free lunch, so maybe that's what he was hoping for. A cow that he himself didn't have to slaughter in the cold light of day.
So what we didn't have an answer to really when we were at the Arenberg was what that chicane was doing. One, we couldn't really see it. Two, we just didn't have the context of the race all really yet. So what did the chicane do? What did it do to the bicycle race? It made the Arenberg harder. We were just talking with Sam Welsford. He was basically like, well, that was just kind of shit. Because
He'd already said it was shit, and then he said it was even more shit because it basically became like a lead-out bunch sprint into it for his group. He was probably a couple groups back by that point, I think. But then he said that then the speed was lower on the Arenberg than you would take into it, so it just lasted longer and was more painful. So it made his day longer.
Which is unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm sure the ASO aren't going to be crying over Sam Welsford's appraisal of, maybe that's harsh, but I mean, he wasn't in the front group. He's not a guy who's necessarily going to win Roubaix. He was here as a domestique.
Yeah.
It was good to see.
There also weren't any massive crashes.
You didn't lose any huge contenders to a crash in the Arenberg like we did last year. And I think the riders were grateful for that.
Yeah, which is good. But it did make it harder. And I think the real thing it did, which, I think we could have guessed this and kind of did talk about this a little bit in earlier episodes, is it made all the sectors before it way more important, right? And so what we saw was an Alpecin-de-Koning that just absolutely blew the race to shreds before they even got to the Arenberg. I mean, the size of the group coming onto the Arenberg was, 40 or so? No massive impact on the race. I think that's basically what we can say, is it just made it harder in general.
Well, if it hadn't happened, then maybe Van der Poel goes there with the high speed, and then he does an even longer time try to finish. Probably too long, to be honest. But the thing is with Van der Poel, with these guys that the other riders refer to as aliens themselves, we don't even have to do that. They attack from 60 kilometers out. It's not that much of a surprise. They can time trial to the end while the rest of the group does it. But by the time the rest of the group's behind have figured out what to do, it's already kind of too late. And today you had Gianni Vermeersch, who finished top 10 in the end for Alpecin-de-Koning. So he's probably the most valuable rider of the day, even though two of his teammates finished 1 and 2, who's sort of neutered any counter move from the group behind.
Yep.
And sort of when that happens, you sap the energy and the belief out of that group, because you're like, okay, he's on a really good day. I'm going to just drag this teammate to the finish, and then it's an Alpecin-de-Koning 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Group 2 syndrome today, which we talked about a fair amount after Milan-San Remo, is basically Van der Poel was the one that prevented any Group 2 syndrome from happening in that instance, and actually didn't hand Philipsen a victory on a plate or anything like that, but he made it possible, right? It was very likely that one of those late moves would have stuck, whether it was Pidcock or Mohoric or one of those guys. Yes, Van der Poel was strong. Was he 3 minutes stronger than a strong group riding behind him? Probably not so much. There's a fair amount of playing around back there.
I mean, he did also ride the fastest average speed ever breaking his own record from last year.
That's just the tailwind, though. I mean, we could have done that if we wanted to. Right? Yeah.
I'm going to have to fess up and admit that this was Josh's point that he said to me in the press room. But the lack of Wout van Aert was both the fact that he didn't have someone capable of going with Mathieu van der Poel, but maybe also the fact that then Mathieu van der Poel felt free enough to be like, there's no one else really here who can
no one's catching
compare to me, so I might as well just go and have a solo ride.
Yeah.
Right, no one scared him.
And it's like less dangerous once he's solo, right? Because you're not going to get stuck behind somebody or hit a hole you didn't see or anything like that. It's in some ways for him, with the confidence that he had, less dangerous to just be out there by himself.
You say that, although Daniel Fried made a good point on Twitter saying that Mathieu van der Poel is any guy who looks more likely to crash when he's solo than riding in a group. And we see that again with those yellow bollard things. Which
they're in the sector right after Carrefour de Labre, which is like, what is it? Is it Gruson or something like that? It's the one.
And he always cuts them just very fine.
So if you're riding the Sportif, for example, you just ride on the pavement on the side. But if you're Mathieu van der Poel, you have to swerve in and out.
Ian's going to have to redo his interview.
Ian.
Someone else has just rode into the velodrome.
Terrible news.
That's not just anyone. That is Cyrus Monk, because you can tell by his blonde mullet that flows out the back of his helmet.
Here comes Cyrus Monk.
Is he smiling?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind
of
smiling. Should we could just try to grab him.
Surely I can walk over now. Let's see in real time if I get stopped.
They've closed the gates, so that is it.
And the broom wagon is just driven away.
So we're done.
That's it.
We're done. Ian is
Here he comes.
keen.
Ian is showing a turn of pace I've not seen from him before as he jaunts over.
This about finishing after the broom wagon. There was a guy in 2018, Siskevicius, who finished so late that they'd locked the velodrome, and he was so last that he had to send the broom wagon away. And the next year he finished 8th.
There
Amazing.
we go. Okay, here we go.
He's looking tired.
He's looking very tired.
Yep.
I had one thing in my head, just keep riding, and had a lot of shit go wrong, which I assume happens to a lot of people, but I didn't make it this far by giving up when things didn't go my way, so figured I'd just keep going. Knew that I was going to be a long, long way behind by the time I rode on flat tyres for that long, but good to do some recon for next year. I don't even know at the moment. Honestly, mentally not that hard. I was just thinking keep riding, but disappointing to not be able to do anything in the race after the punctures. But I think that's Roubaix.
Flanders versus Titanic. What does this make Roubaix?
I think Roubaix is the Hunger Games. I think everyone at home just wants to watch us suffer, and yeah, every sector is like the cannon going off and someone gets killed. But for me, that was the first sector, and then it was 29 sectors of hell after that.
Well, there we have it. We've just spent about half an hour trying to describe to you what Paris-Roubaix is like, but the Hunger Games, according to the riders who take part in it.
That was much more eloquent than we've been thus far today. So thank you to Cyrus Monk for stopping there at the finish. As he was stopping for us, a sort of gaggle of reporters, Mathieu van der Poel rolled by looking resplendent.
Always an awkward moment when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, headed to the press conference. I want to turn our attention to Quickstep because we mentioned this a little bit earlier. Top rider was 36th, 35th?
35th.
6th. There we go.
It's plummeted.
Yves Lampaert was the top rider in 36th. Poor guy. I mean, he's been in the running to win this thing before, if you'll recall, and hit a spectator. No cow for him this year. But the bigger question is this team that used to dominate these races is anonymous. And I know we've talked about this in podcasts previously, but we've got Remco Evenepoel now out injured. They're not going to win the plethora of one-week stage races they were planning on winning. They're not even going to really be able to take a run at things like Liège. And they're going to come out of these cobble classics with almost nothing, right? A Scheldeprijs victory. If you're Lefebvre, what are you thinking? That's a bad question.
Well, how long
Who
have you
knows?
got? And how many bleeps do we have?
Well, I mean, so like you can't blame the riders, right? They're doing their best.
Casper
they're trying.
Asgreen is doing his best.
You cannot go to Casper Asgreen and be like, why aren't you winning anything? You can blame, the GM, the one that's pulling the riders together and setting teams and hiring people and things like that, because it's certainly fallen off a cliff in the last couple of years.
Well, it's the problem of basing an entire squad around one rider. Like, it's worked with Tadej Pogačar for UAE, but then they've built around him. They've got the money to hire other guys who can win and can feature. Like Nils Pollitt today. But with Quickstep, their budget's already, and that's the Patrick Lefevere's other favourite thing to say, alongside sort of sexist things and like slamming his riders in the press. He also likes saying about how he has no money, which to some extent is true. He's not one of the super teams. But then that means you build around Remco Evenepoel, Grand Tour contender, and you don't have much else left over. You got a Casper Asgreen and Yves Lampaert, and seeing as they were part of those squads before that dominated, it's probably quite hard to maintain the same motivation and the same tactics to repeat the results.
Do you think we might see a moment of self-awareness from Patrick Lefevere and he slams himself in the press?
Well, he said he's not going to talk less in the press. When we spoke to him when we went along to the Quickstep Safety Jogger press conference, he seems quite unmoved by everything, really. I think he must... I mean, the reason he's got this far is because he just exists in his own little world full of Safety Jogger HQ visits where he can... I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to put his hand in the air and be like, I messed this one up. I can't see that from him necessarily.
So he just goes back to Safety Jogger HQ and keeps hanging around there.
They seem to like him there. That's his little kingdom that he's built, his little fortification to hide him from the Belgian public, who probably want a team that performs in the Cobble Classics.
I think it's sort of one of those perfect examples of how success begets success. Like it is actually a lot of the same riders that they were winning with before, and those riders are not necessarily really beyond their peak. Shouldn't be. Yves Lampaert maybe sort of near the end of his career. Casper Asgreen did have a sort of horrible accident to come back from, but did so and won a Tour de France stage since then and things like that. And I just don't. I don't know if there's anywhere to place blame, and I guarantee that the Belgian public will be looking for a place in the next week or so.
I've got an idea. Safety Jogger.
Like when you fire a GM or something to just shake things up and see how the players react. You think, get rid of their safety joggers, be like, oh, I can wear sort of more mainstream footwear. I'm ready to go.
I'm no longer a social outcast with steel caps.
Maybe the riders are more reactant to the fact that they were nearly all thrown under a bus and chucked out of a job in the autumn.
Yeah.
I imagine I wouldn't react well to that. If suddenly we all started potentially getting sold to GCN or cycling news, I think we'd actually be quite perturbed.
So we're at the end of roughly 10 days here in Belgium and northern France, and the three of us are all headed home tomorrow. Josh is headed home tonight, actually. A bit shorter to go for Josh.
Mm-hmm.
What did
we learn? What's the meaning of all this?
What would you say is the meaning of the last week?
Would you not say that the cobblestones were really the friends you made along the way?
Ian?
I was going to go for the same gag, which is annoying. No, but in seriousness, I don't think that there are any really surprise winners. Like, it was more or less the people that you thought would probably be in the mix were in the mix. There weren't any big shocks from that.
One stat I heard on French TV, which is kind of remarkable, it's the first time the same team has won the first three classics of the season ever.
They're hugely dominant. Like we haven't fully wrapped our heads around how dominant they are so far this year.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've been this sort of they were a smaller team with a Van der Poel.
But now they've got Philipsen.
And they got they're
Vermeersch looks pretty decent.
Vermeersch looks pretty good. Although he'll be less relevant from here on out the entire season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually a pretty spectacular level of dominance and something that we haven't seen. Really, Quickstep 6 years ago is the last time I can think of a similarly dominant team. That closes the deal too, because remember we said like Little Trek was looking pretty dominant sort of in the lead up here. They looked pretty good at Flanders, but they've been unable to close the deal.
Two podiums from Roubaix. They're probably pretty happy with that. It's a big jump from where they used to finish. The thing about these classics, the Roubaix Flanders, is that Belgium and northern France are so unflinchingly the same every time we come here. There's an honesty in that. And I think we've had a great week.
I had a lovely week.
It's been fun.
Big thank you to all of the members, the escapees.
That's been really fun.
That made their way all the way here. It was really great hanging out with everybody, and yeah, it just made the whole week. It added a whole element to the week.
Well, it's nice to go for beers in the evening, and then there's like different people popping up.
Yeah, wasn't
just us with our same old bullshit every single night. I mean, they'll probably give a different story, and it was exactly that, but to us it felt different.
No, it was really great, and we want to do some kind of trip probably again next year. I don't know if it'll be here, I don't know if it'll be somewhere else, but yeah, it was fantastic to meet a whole bunch of people, put some faces to names that I've seen on the internet, right, in our Discord channels or on the comment sections or wherever. It was really great to put some faces to names and just meet people in person.
Because once again, like last year, we're here because of them. So
we are.
It's great to now. Last year we were here because of them, and then this year they're here with us. So
yeah,
that was great.
Well, the wind is kicking up.
We need one final beer.
The fences are being put away here in the Roubaix velodrome.
Yeah.
Johannes from EF is doing a stand-up by himself in the corner. Or no, that's Ron.
That's Gregor Brown.
That's Gregor. I really apologize.
I mean, Gregor is going to love the fact that you thought he was about 20 years younger than he is.
It is pretty far away.
We'll clip that up and send it to him.
In my defense. No, Ron Burgundy. Gregor Brown is over in the corner doing his little stand-up. What else do we see as a wrap-up here?
That's it. The VIPs are getting the last little bits of their freebies.
Yep.
The gluttons.
Maybe we can wander the edge and get someone to get a beer for us.
Because
I think that's what it is. I think it's beer o'clock, and I think we're going to be back on Tuesday with another episode of Placeholders.
Just 5,000 miles away.
About that.
There we go.
Yep. All right. Thanks for listening this week, everybody. Thanks for following along. Thanks for commenting and being a member if you are one. And we'll be back in a couple days here. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
And me.
Saluches.